Good afternoon, everyone. You can hear me at the back? Okay, great. It's always a difficult job, Prem specializes in giving difficult jobs. Uh, I have to speak about boring, passive, right after lunch. And right after I've had a very animated discussion right outside. And basically, if they speak up here, my entire my entire presentation can sort of be discussed, can be sort of dismissed. So, can boring index funds can they create exciting results? चलो देखते हैं. See, normally when people talk of passive investing, the general feedback, okay, is जितना इंडेक्स देगा उतना मिल जाएगा. ओके, एवरेज रिटर्न्स मिलेगा बिकॉज इंडेक्स एवरेज रिटर्न्स देता है. ओके, लो कॉस्ट ऑफ कोर्स पैसिव के साथ ये लो कॉस्ट का लेबल चिटका हुआ है. ओके, तो लो कॉस्ट होगा एंड पीपल नॉर्मली थिंक चीप इज इक्वल टू ऑर्डिनरी. And obviously, there is no fund manager magic. So, कोई एक्टिव कॉल नहीं होगा तो मजा नहीं आएगा, एक्साइटमेंट नहीं होगा. तो देखते हैं विनिंग पोर्टफोलियो किसको बोलते हैं, विनिंग किसको बोलते हैं, राइट? तो विनिंग दो तरीके से हो सकती है, राइट? फर्स्ट ऑब्वियस जो हम सब जानते हैं कि क्रिएट एन अल्फा. जो भी ब्रॉड इंडाइसेस है, निफ्टी 50 है, निफ्टी 500 है, उससे ज़्यादा रिटर्न्स हमें जनरेट करना है. दैट कैन बेसिकली बी द नंबर वन विनिंग ऑब्जेक्टिव. नंबर टू, विच इज नॉट very often sort of discussed, is that you improve the certainty of getting a double digit return. मतलब अगर आपको when inflation is running at 6% and if your probability of getting a double digit return over 10 years, okay, is maybe 90% plus, isn't that a win? Now that needs to be defined like a win, but अगर उसको आप win मानते हैं तो क्या वो अचीव हो सकती है पैसिव पोर्टफोलियोज से? let's see whether that is possible. So पहले वाला बात करते हैं, क्रिएटिंग एन अल्फा. So I've just picked up one particular index. Okay, there are multiple such indexes. This is an index that we recommend, and that's the reason I've picked it up. This is Nifty 500 Multicap Momentum Quality 50 Index. मतलब बोलते बोलते मैं थक जाता हूँ इसको. इसके लिए इसका शॉर्ट फॉर्म बना रखा है हमने, MMQ. ओके, इट साउंड्स लाइक द टाइटल ऑफ अ बॉलीवुड मूवी. और इसका जो परफॉर्मेंस पैरामीटर्स है वो भी एकदम बॉलीवुड मूवी की तरह ही धमाकेदार है. Okay, so basically if you look, I don't know if you can see these figures from behind. इसको अगर आप 5 year, these are rolling returns from 1st April 2005 to 31st December 2025. ये इंडेक्स की फिगर्स हैं, स्कीम की फिगर्स नहीं है. ओके, so the 5 year rolling returns, you can see the maximum, the minimum. It has never been negative over 5 years. Look at the average. It's 21% versus 13% for the Nifty. That's a 8% alpha in the past on a fitted index. इस पे स्कीम अभी 1.5-2 साल पहले ही आई है. And look at this. This is something we give a lot of importance to, the downside deviation. So we have used 13%, and I am not going how we calculate downside deviation, but we have used the average return of Nifty 50 as the expected return. उसके basis पे Nifty 50 itself has a 4% downside deviation, iska downside deviation is only 1%. So the risk-adjusted return, even over 5 years, is excellent. And only on 18 occasions out of 3,908 occasions has Nifty 50 over 5 years been able to beat MMQ. Look at the 10-year numbers. Those are even better. You can see the average return of 21%. Look at the minimum return, 15%. That 15% minimum return of MMQ is higher than the average return of Nifty 50 over 10 years. So, I mean, the alpha is 9%, downside deviation is 0. There is not a single occasion over 10 years when the MMQ has performed less than the Nifty. So, I mean, the numbers look startling. I mean, when we first computed these numbers, we recomputed them, we read that, and to us, these numbers are absolutely startling. But there is an issue with these numbers. First, no scheme has run on them. And as I was told outside, I can't see him here. Yeah, there. As I was told outside, okay, इसमें impact cost included नहीं है, okay? और जितना आप मतलब निफ्टी 500 में जाएंगे, इम्पैक्ट कॉस्ट इसका 60-70 पैसा हो सकता है. और भी कई चीज़ें हैं इसमें. ये एक पुराना कंस्ट्रक्टेड इंडेक्स है, उस समय इस पर कोई स्कीम नहीं चल रही थी. तो वेदर इट विल रिपीट इन द फ्यूचर एज सेबी लाइक्स अस टू से, एंड दैट शुड हैव बीन देयर, दैट पास्ट परफॉर्मेंस इज नो गारंटी ऑफ future results. But the numbers are really startling, and it is something that deserves a second look. And we are talking alpha of this level. Maybe it will not be repeated. Maybe it will be much lower. Okay. But then how many active funds have alpha like this on a rolling returns basis? Okay. So I think this is something that deserves a second look. All of you should look at it definitely, for sure. So I was telling you about the problem. The problem is that from time to time, over shorter periods, it will underperform. Like it has more or less underperformed over the last 1 year. I mean, this is a very specific, very specific incident. I will show you that from March of 25 to March of 26, the MMQ has underperformed. And this becomes difficult. You know, when you show the client the figure of 5 years and 10 years, तो उसकी आंखें इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हो जाती है. 8% अल्फा, 9% अल्फा, ओके. तो वो सोचता है कि ओ बॉय, 8%, 9% I will get every year. That's not how this works, right? All of us know that that's not how this works. There will be years in which it will underperform. Forget alpha. There is a negative alpha during certain periods. And I think over 1 year, 1/3 of the time, Nifty 50 will beat MMQ or has beaten MMQ in the past. And this is just one example. 23rd March 25 to 23rd March 26, Nifty was minus 2.5%. All these are TRI numbers. Okay. MMQ is minus 3.2%. So forget alpha. There is a negative alpha over these last 1 year. And this is a challenge. If you have not created the right expectations from the client, then you are going to have an issue when the inevitable happens that at certain points it may have negative returns. In fact, loss by itself is not acceptable sometimes to clients. Loss more than the reference index becomes even less defensible unless you have clearly told the client that it is going to happen. So that was on creating alpha, winning by creating alpha. The second part of winning, as I said, can be, if you define it that way, and that client has to agree that that definition is acceptable to the client, is if you improve the probability of getting double-digit returns, and this is possible through good old diversification. As Harry Markowitz has said, diversification is about the only possible free lunch in investments. And this is data to sort of prove that. If you look, and this portfolio has been created for a certain reason, you can experiment with other portfolios. This portfolio is 55% Indian stock market. Pardon the, rather pedestrian names, because we use it for investor education. Indian stock market here is Nifty 50 TRI. US stock market is S&P 500 TRI. Gold is gold. We use IBJA rates. Fixed deposit is liquid fund. Okay. So this is the portfolio that we have created. There's nothing sacrosanct about this portfolio, just that the data. And the other thing is, there is no rebalancing. This is एक बार किया, भूल गए, 10 साल बाद में निकाला, तो क्या होता है? If you just see this data, okay, ये portfolio over this period, 13th August 2001 to 31st March 2026, the date, this very odd date has been chosen simply because the S&P TRI numbers are available to us, at least from this date. That is the reason we chose this very odd date. Okay. The minimum portfolio returns are in double digit. It's 11%. Okay. 55% आपने निफ्टी 50 में डाला था, 20% आपने S&P 500 में डाला था, 10% गोल्ड में, 15% लिक्विड फंड में. ओके, तो कम से कम the worst possible return after 10 years is double digit. It's 11%. Now that is the magic of diversification and patience, right? And you can see that the average is not that worse off. I mean, except S&P 500, it's pretty much, it's as good as Nifty 50. Of course, maximum is much lower, but then your minimum is much higher. So if you define winning as increasing the probability of getting double-digit returns, and here this is not increasing the probability, at least if you go by past results, it's 100%, of course, before costs. Okay, so after costs, it's still very, very close to double digits. And of course, this is with, we have used for all of them, we have used a systematic strategy, right? Which means that for the first 24 months, you first put money in a liquid fund, transfer it systematically in this portfolio, in this kind of a portfolio, hold it for 6 years, and then redeem it into a liquid fund for the last 24 months, and then, of course, redeem from the liquid fund. Then these results really come. So, I mean, what this shows is that as long as you define your winning appropriately, if your winning is defined as getting an alpha, then obviously the strategy has to be different. If your winning is defined as getting, increasing the probability of getting a double-digit return over a long period, then, of course, the strategy is basically some sort of diversification. Okay? And the beauty is that you don't have to choose either. You can choose both. For a portion of your portfolio, you can choose this. For a portion of your portfolio, you can choose the more outperform strategy. For a portion of the portfolio, you can choose near benchmark sort of a strategy. So, I mean, this was a pretty simple sort of a presentation. I see I still have time left. So, I mean, can we take questions? Yeah? Please.
substitute got the classes with
Hello.
our sector.
Hello.
That's not very much for your website.
So we are big fans of passive. Okay. So it is possible that in when the equity comes up. So one is you can use a fund which is an asset allocation fund that has the required allocation that you are looking for. Or second, okay, you can construct them yourselves. What do we use? So equity, we typically nowadays tend to use MMQ if more risk is, because if you will see the risk profile of MMQ, okay, the downside deviation, it's lower than even Nifty 50. So we have now moved out of Nifty 50 or Nifty 500. We are very much on to MMQ. It gives you multi-cap exposure, okay, although the small cap, mid cap is not very large normally, okay. It's 10 scripts of large cap, 15 scripts of mid cap, 25 scripts of small cap, but weightage is not very high. So we typically use MMQ for equity. Gold is typically a gold fund or SGB in some cases. And S&P 500, you have to now sort of send money abroad to take S&P exposure. Liquid funds are clearly available.
Hi, myself Harsh Kothari here. My question is for you, sir, in terms of what are the kind of fees are clients willing to pay for a passive-only portfolio which you manage?
Well, our fees is on our website, okay? So our fee is the same, whether they use passive or active, okay? The fee is the same, okay? And that's where what you are giving should be very clear. We're very clear with our clients. Our service is looking at their goals, seeing, making them comfortable that they are on the journey towards their goal, whatever their goal be. Some of them are pretty wealthy, so they may not have goals like children's education, retirement, etc. But it could be conserving wealth, making it higher, etc. Our fee is the same, to answer your question, because we're not promising performance. We are doing asset allocation.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yes.
This is what I was afraid of, that he is going to ask me a question. He had promised he was not going to ask, but he's decided to ask.
Ask the question out first.
This is a problem of being famous. Okay, so Harsh, it is said that a 50-50 portfolio of only Nifty 50 and gold rebalanced every year, and if it is held for 10 years, invariably beats the market on a regular basis, also with this lower side protection. Have you tried comparing with what you showed us with that sort of a portfolio, and does it work? Because why I'm asking this, because there is a part of the US which is coming in, which because of many reasons gets stopped, or LRS and all that. That is where.
So to answer simply, nahi kiya, abhi tak ye dekha nahi hai, dekh lenge, okay. But 50% weight to gold, okay, it makes me uncomfortable, but I'd never argue with data.
Yeah. So as I said,
look at the data.
In your case, there is no rebalancing. This is rebalanced every year.
No,
that's all.
No rebalancing. Just when we do it with clients, we do rebalancing. Those are even more complicated to explain. So I just decided to keep a simple presentation here. So to answer your question, we do pretty complicated work, okay? And clients can see that we do this pretty complicated work. Asset allocation may sound simple. This sounds extremely simple. But simple should never be confused with easy. Now, simple बनना आसान नहीं है, okay? और simple रहना तो बिल्कुल आसान नहीं है. तो हम तो क्लाइंट को बोलते हैं कि ये इतना ही सिंपल है सर, ओके, आप खुद कर लीजिए, ओके. एक्सरसाइज की तरह है. रोज मेरे घर में ट्रेनर आता है, वो जो मुझसे एक्सरसाइज करवाता है, ओके, क्या मुझे नहीं पता है, मैं नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन वो नहीं आएगा तो मैं नहीं करूँगा, बिकॉज उसका एक रोल होता है एक्सरसाइज बताना, दूसरा रोल बिहेवियरल होता है, तीसरा रोल मुझे गलती करने से रोकना होता है, चौथा रोल मुझे मोटिवेट करना होता है. तो ये सारे रोल का पैसा मिलता है.
Good evening, sir. Yeah. Sir, you shared a positive strategy with us. So you must have tried multiple strategies. So which are the 2-3 strategies to avoid which has not performed? And apart from this strategy, which other strategy gave them highest positive results?
सो आपने शायद पूछा कि कौन सी स्ट्रैटेजी परफॉर्म नहीं करती है, कौन सी पहले करते थे जो परफॉर्म नहीं करती है. सो आई जस्ट आंसर दिस एंड देन गेट ऑफ द स्टेज. वी अर्लियर यूज टू हैव अ स्टैंडर्ड पीबी सॉर्ट ऑफ बेस्ड स्ट्रैटेजी. उसमें से परफॉर्मेंस की वजह से नहीं निकले, डेटा की वजह से निकले, बिकॉज डेटा चेंज हो गया. पहले पी मिलता था सिंगल कंपनी के बेसिस पे, पीबी मिलता था सिंगल कंपनी के बेसिस पे, बाद में कंसोलिडेटेड कंपनी के बेसिस पे मिलने लग गया. पास्ट का सीरीज दिया नहीं उन्होंने, फ्यूचर का कंटिन्यू नहीं किया पुरानी तरीके से. तो जब ये सारी चलती हैं रिवर्सल टू मीन पे, तो रिवर्सल टू मीन पे चलने के लिए आपको कंसिस्टेंट डेटा चाहिए, और डेटा जब बंद हो गया तो वो स्ट्रैटेजी बंद करनी पड़ी, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस. थैंक यू.